Misogynistic, entitled parents watch their kid lose horribly to a girl. I'm writing this on my niece's account because of the new account filter. Me, M47, and my daughter, F17, live in Canada. There are many outdoor rinks in our area, and we have a favorite one because there are team benches, sturdy boards, it's Zamboni-ed by the city every hour, and it's just generally well kept. You can reserve an hour at a time on this sign-up sheet for $15, but it's free to skate as long as nobody has booked for that time. My daughter plays a very high level of competitive ice hockey, and she often reserves an hour or two, and invites many of her teammates to this rink for fun so they can play casually. Around a week ago, my daughter, me, and 4 others from her team are about halfway through our reserve time. This group of boys, 13 to 14 years/0, that nobody else knows, gets out of a vehicle and approaches the rink, put their skates on and start skating while passing and shooting pucks and leaving their sticks lying around, all in the way of my daughter's game. I show them the clipboard with the sign-up sheet which proves my daughter paid for these 2 hours, and calmly ask them to clean up their gear and wait 30 minutes until the schedule is clear again. One kid, Eki, looks at me and rolls his eyes while turning his back on me, and his group does not stop getting in our way. I tell the girls to start picking up the stuff the boys keep leaving around the rink and to simply just toss it over the boards onto the mats along the ice. Eke, who rolled his eyes earlier, starts complaining, and at this point his dad, F, and mom, EM, have gotten out of the vehicle and asks what's wrong. The kid smirks at me and then whines to F and EM that he was trying to play hockey with his friends, but then a bunch of girls came and tried to bother them. I try to show F and EM the same clipboard, but F immediately took his kid's side and told me to leave and come back later since he was here first, false, and that girls are too weak and fragile to play with boys. A few minutes later, a worker from the city comes by and shows F that we in fact are entitled to the rink for the next half hour, regardless of who arrived first, since we paid for that specific time. EM suggested going to a different rink, but F said, "No. I'll get these girls to leave." My daughter skates over and even offers the boys to join her game, so at least they are not in the way of each other. But F and this kid keep spewing rhetoric about how young girls can't be good at male-dominated sports, and how they have it so easy since they don't allow contact in women's hockey, and therefore the girls should just go home. But the kid's friends wanted to play, so he begrudgingly agreed, saying things about how easy this is going to be. I sat down on one of the benches. F and EM sat on the other one. What F and EK failed to realize is, these girls are all a part of the same high competitive team, and B, that because women's hockey doesn't use contact, girls have to solely rely on agility and puck control skills, whereas a major skill for men's hockey involves hitting to make plays. I guess this makes me an instigator, but I nudged her and her teammates to go extra hard on them. Me, F, and EM watched half an hour of my daughter's team absolutely destroy these kids in every aspect of the game. He started to get really angry and frustrated, and he decided to do something really stupid. The next time my daughter had the puck, Ek charged as fast as he could go and attempted to ram her into the boards. Instead, Ek ended up slamming knee first into the door. He got up immediately, then started screaming and crying about how it's not fair, and yelling at F about going home. EM says something about how, "This is a public rink and we have the right to be here," but the trio left in the car after swearing and yelling towards me, but a few of X's friends stayed. My daughter's team and the remaining guys ended up splitting equal amounts of each group into 2 teams, and kept playing together fine until the next reservation. Apparently this kid and dad duo have a history of getting in the way and blaming/complaining about women. Of the guys who stayed, they all mentioned that they are only friends with Eki because F is their house league coach, and they don't share the same views about women's hockey. I'm not entirely upset about what happened now that it's in the past. I'm simply baffled that there are still people that think women shouldn't exist in some sports, even if they're male-dominated. My controlling parents don't want me to move away. I'm 35, got fired from my last job right before the holidays with zero explanation. 2 weeks later, I got an offer in Denver for $83,000, $23,000 more than my last job, but my parents yelled saying, "It's too expensive. $83,000 isn't that much, not enough to live anywhere else but here. It's too cold. What are you going to do with your house? If you sell, you'll never afford to buy another home. If you rent it out and the job doesn't work, you won't have a place to go back to. If you rent it out, whoever you rent to will destroy your property. Where are you going to put your stuff if you rent it out?" They want me to turn this opportunity down, which means staying on unemployment until something else comes up or that chi runs out. Stay put and keep looking for local jobs in Kansas. My dad sent me a job posting for an administrative assistant at a local university for $15,000, less than I was making at my last job. I've been a project manager for 7 years, an admin assistant job photocopying some old dude's documents, arranging his folders, scheduling his meetings. Sounds like a huge step back to me. That is a job I would hate and I am overqualified for. He shouted at me I was damn stupid for not applying for it. Meanwhile, my sister is turning 38 and has never moved out of my parents' house and doesn't drive herself anywhere. Mom drives her to and from work every day, which they have no problem with. Why aren't they questioning what is she doing with her life? They're so hands-off when it comes to her life choices. What's crazier is their talk is making me second-guess my new gig. I turned down a job in Boston 2 years because of this type of pressure, and looked what happened to me. I took a pay cut and then got fired. Now I'm thinking about doing it again. There's no support for me whatsoever. They say I'm gonna fail and not have anything to come back to. I'm all torn up about their behavior and doubting. Their words have made me feel awful about everything. My story of an entitled mom. A lot of the information here may seem irrelevant, but trust me, it'll make sense as the story goes on. So I went to Catholic schools from 1st to 12th grade. When I was in middle school, there was this local charity/volunteer organization that would come twice a week and hold an after-school tutoring program in our school. Every week, 2 days a week, they had volunteers come and help students with homework. I decided to join and went for the entirety of my middle school years. Every year, they would give select 8th graders high school scholarships. These scholarships were for those who planned on attending a private high school and met the requirements. When I was in 8th grade, I and one of my friends, who we'll call Marissa, were some of the students they selected. I felt so lucky that I got the scholarship, as it took a huge weight off my parents. I knew I wanted to continue my education at a private high school, and this was the only way I would be able to since we couldn't afford all of it ourselves. However, there was this one girl in the program who didn't get the scholarship. We'll call her Serena. Her mom worked as a secretary at the front office of the elementary/middle school I went to at the time. They were both pretty upset, especially Serena's mom. Serena has always hated my guts for some reason and was always jealous of me. She and I ended up going to the same high school together. Some of my other classmates from middle school also went there. For a while, I had the idea that her parents were paying for her education out of pocket, since she was one of the students that didn't get a scholarship from the organization. But then I found out that wasn't the case. During my freshman year of high school, all the students that were awarded scholarships were invited to have breakfast with their sponsors as well as volunteer for a bit. The breakfast was on a school day, which meant we would have to miss the morning half of our classes and get excused absences. A couple of days before the event, we were in class and Serena was reading an email on her laptop. The boy sitting next to her got curious and asked her what it was about. She said, "It's for a scholarship I got." She said that loud and clear, as if she wanted me to hear her. When I heard her say that, I was a bit surprised, but then decided to think nothing of it. I just ignored it and brushed it off. When the day of the event came and I got to the building where it was being held, I saw Serena there. I was filled with confusion. Then, we found out the truth from a couple of close friends/acquaintances. Serena's mom couldn't accept that her daughter didn't get the scholarship, so she went into Karen mode and sent the organization an entire email angrily ranting about why her daughter deserved the scholarship. She even had the nerve to demean my friend Marissa, who I mentioned earlier, saying it wasn't fair she got it because she was only in the program for 1 year while Serena had been in it longer. Serena's mom also had the audacity to tear me down in her email, essentially saying I didn't deserve the scholarship because of a vacation I had taken outside of the country for spring break that year. BSFR. It's not like that trip came to us easily. My parents saved up for a while so we could be able to do it. We also found out that the principal was in on her little scheme and helped her. I was appalled to learn about that. One of the volunteers from the organization, whom we had a close friendship with, told my mom that Serena's mom and the principal kept bombarding her and the sponsors with angry emails. As a result, they ended up giving Serena a scholarship basically so they can be satisfied and get Serena's mom and the principal to leave them alone. It was a last resort decision. When I found that out, I was disappointed. The students who got the scholarship put their blood, sweat, and tears so they could achieve it. Serena acted as if she earned it fair and square, which filled me with rage. At least I can say I didn't have to have my mom and school principal beg for it to be given to me. My parents want me to stay on my medication and control my life after I found that my life is better without it. I, 20M, still live at home with my family. I have been diagnosed with ADHD and autism for about 15 years, and have been taking medication for them both. Just recently, I ran out and will not be able to get a refill till this coming February. My parents were horrified about that fact and wanted me to call my pharmacist and get just a small amount to keep me medicated till I can get a refill. I didn't do that. They got so mad and basically told me I couldn't function properly without them, when in reality I can't function to what they want me to do. My parents have me do practically every chore around the house while having a full-time job, and my 25-year-old brother, who also lives at home, does no chores, and his excuse is that he works night shifts. This last week has been the worst of it. My father gets in constant arguments with me about my desk being a mess, when it just has a ton of equipment on it that is being used at all times, and it also has an unopened Coke can. No matter how much I clean and make it to what they want, they still don't think it's good enough. And my mom just lets it happen and tells me to listen to my father. I don't listen to them because they want me on medication that they keep wanting my dosage increased every few years, and will soon make me a mindless zombie. They're really bad when my girlfriend is over because she dresses gothic and also happens to work at a processing plant in Springfield, Ohio, and they constantly talk about how the community there are eating dogs and cats and being incredibly racist. I can't wait to leave their hellhole of a house and never look back. Mom and sister angry when I refuse to babysit. This happened many moons, nearly 20 years ago, but the audacity of those in the story remains. They still bring this issue up from time to time. At the time this story took place, I was homeschooling my 3 boys, 7, 4, 2, and had an infant daughter, 5 months. I found out I was pregnant with my daughter months after she announced her pregnancy and was immediately berated by my mother as to, "Why can't you let your sister have her moment?" when my mother was well aware of our plans to add a 4th child to our family at a specific time. As it happened, my daughter is 7 months younger than my nephew. I had originally offered to babysit him and breastfeed him because of my sister's finances for free, while she went back to school to finish her master's degree. When my nephew was about a year old, sister opted to wait on school. I was asked if I would watch my nephew for a few hours. I said okay, as long as he is picked up at the agreed upon time since I needed to run my school day. We usually worked on lessons in the morning until early afternoon, but I was willing to shift down for the day. My mom and my sister agreed to this and dropped nephew off at 8 a.m. with a promise to pick him up at noon. 11:30 comes around and this child starts crying. I know nothing about his medical issues, so I try to feed him the lunch packed by his mother. He ate 3 bites and refused more. I put the food away and offered a bottle. The breastfeeding option was off the table at this point. 11:45, and this child is still crying. I've changed his diaper, offered food and drink. I'm holding him and he still won't stop crying. My 5-month-old joins in wailing. I tried to put her down in her crib and she wailed louder. We later learned she had infant GERD, so I'm now sitting on the floor with 2 wailing babies who won't let me put them down for their own reasons. I kept looking at the clock and telling myself I can hold on for another 15 minutes. All while this is happening, my XDH was working from home, so I'm doing my best to manage 2 screaming babies while he's working in the next room. I had given the boys some random activities to keep them out of trouble. 12 o'clock rolls around and my sister and my mom have not arrived as agreed. This was unusual for them since they were always early for things. I call my sister's cell. Straight to voicemail. I call my mom's cell. Straight to voicemail. So I called my sister's cell again and left a message. I ended up calling every 15 to 20 minutes and leaving a voicemail on both cells because my mom and my sister decided to turn off their phones and do whatever because they didn't have the baby with them. 6 o'clock comes around and they are finally pulling into my driveway. I found out that they went shopping in another town. I'm livid. My nephew is beet red from crying for nearly 6 hours. I answered the door and without a word handed over the baby and his diaper bag. I walked his car seat out to their car and walked back inside the house, turned off the porch light, and locked my door. Edit 1. My boys missed school that day because I wasn't able to console the 2 babies. I also had to have the older boys make lunch for themselves and their brother, due to being incapacitated by someone else's kid. I routinely wore my daughter to get chores and school done. My mom had the audacity to ask a couple of weeks later if I would watch my nephew. I simply said no. When she retorted that I had been willing to watch him on a regular basis, I told her that that was before she and my sister abandoned him at my house and turned off their phones, leaving me no way to contact them in case of an emergency. They still bring up that I went back on my offer without taking any responsibility for their part. Actions have consequences, and they FAFO on this one. Edit 2. Since this is a recurring question in the comments, I am going to address it here. I don't choose to continue contact with either of my sisters or my mother. The snide comments get made on the occasions when they feel I should be included in a group chat containing the 4 of us. My other sister agrees with our mom and GC sister. I have removed myself from many such group chats. I don't initiate contact. I get pulled into group chats about my mom's hospital visits because no one in my extended family believes in LC or NC situations. I read the texts and go about my way. Edit 3. This is not a current situation. This happened nearly 20 years ago. My nephew's father was out of the picture before the baby was born, so he didn't even know what was going on. My mom helped my sister raise her kid with disastrous effect. My boys only homeschooled, 3 years total, due to the poor quality of the school we were zoned for, and private school was not an option for us. They were involved in proper socializing activities and integrated well into public school once we moved to a better district. I opted at the time to refrain from calling the police or CPS because this was a first-time occurrence and I didn't know if something had happened and they were in trouble. Given it was new behavior, I gave the benefit of the doubt. Given my GC sister's sordid past, CPS would have had a field day with the situation, and I would have been blamed. I instead opted to keep the child in my care and refused to watch him again.
Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, make sure to give a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell for more videos. See you soon again.